once again.
Wow, TK, what an introduction. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Emma G. It rhymes with the energy. Can you tell? Okay, so I am going to present to you for the next 18 or so minutes, and afterwards you're more than welcome to ask me any questions. I will preface, I have an accent. If you don't understand me, I'm sorry. Okay, to start off today, I would like to invite you all to close your eyes, please. Remember being 9 years old again. Remember the songs you used to sing, the games you would play with your friends, going to school every day. Remember going on holiday with your family. Even the privilege of just going to school camp. Remember. Now I want you to imagine, if you can, forgetting all of it. Not by choice, but because by the age of just 9 years old, you'd already had so much brain trauma that you could barely remember what happened just 10 minutes earlier on your favorite TV shows, how to get from your bedroom to the hospital bathroom and back, or even what you had for dinner the night before. That was my reality growing up. But thankfully, songwriting saved me. Okay, you can open your eyes now. My name is Emma G, and I was born in small-town New Zealand to an American mother from Pennsylvania and a Fijian father. Now, growing up between two completely different cultures is a blessing, and in two very beautiful countries, also a blessing. But unfortunately, most of you will probably agree with me here, having to grow up between two completely different countries because of your parents living in two completely different cultures was difficult. But for me, I had no choice. You see, I was born with a relatively rare neurological condition called hydrocephalus. I'm not going to assume that any of you really know much about the brain, so let me give you the 411 real quick. Basically, everybody's brain floats in water, otherwise known as cerebral spinal fluid, or CSF for short. This water changes by between 200 and 400 milliliters every day, goes into your head and drains down your spinal column, hence the name cerebral spinal fluid. For me, however, I have a cyst, just drop that for a minute, about the size of my fist in the center of my head. I can have it, that's okay, thank you. About the size of my fist, which means that water can get into my head, but it has no way of exiting. Thankfully, science is amazing. At the age of just 4 months old, a shunt, or a really long tube, was inserted into my cranium, draining down into my peritoneal cavity to drain out the water. Technology is wonderful. However, with every piece of technology, there's always some fun repercussions. You see, when we go through drastic hormonal changes, lumps can form in the cerebral spinal fluid, which means that blockages can exist in the shunt. This meant that by the age of 9 years old, I was put into hospital for 5.5 weeks, during which time I had 5 surgeries. I had an infection introduced into my head called staphylococcus. I nearly died. I, by the age of 10, had already had 23 surgeries and 10 brain surgeries. This meant that I spent weeks away from my school friends. This led me to feeling isolated, alone. This meant that I fell ridiculously behind in school. In fact, I used to be called the Human Dictionary. I now was getting called Frankenstein. Super fun. I was getting bullied a lot. And more importantly, I was losing my memories. Memories completely make up who we are as human beings, so thankfully, I found the gift of songwriting. This is a picture of me at the age of 2, stepping into my power, finding my voice, and recognizing that songwriting, making up music, was instrumental in helping me to know myself, to voice my characteristics, to step into my power, to communicate effectively, and to remember things. So much so that now, standing in front of you as a 33-year-old woman, I can still remember exactly what I was singing in this particular photo. It was a song called Hush Away. My mother wrote down the lyrics for me. Can I sing it to you for a minute? Yeah? Okay. Hush your way to sleep, dream of your love's harmony, dream your dreams, always dream of what's new. At the age of 2 years old, I already found how much songwriting and music help us to not only voice our opinions, our experiences, our ideas, but we can actually start to cognitively reframe our trauma into something that is powerful and positive. I want to show you how. In fact, today, I'm going to tell you all about how, as a teenager, I continued to use songwriting to find my voice and step into my power. As a daughter, I found music and songwriting was instrumental in helping me to regain a solid relationship with my mother. Now, I don't know how much of you remember being a teenager, but I definitely did not have the best relationship with my mother. Songwriting helped me. It also helped me to maintain and establish a relationship with my father, who lived 3.5 hours by plane away in Fiji. And of course, the songwriting also helped me to overcome the trauma of losing him back in 2018. So, today I want to talk to you all about how music and specifically songwriting are instrumental in helping us with our neurological health, our mental health, our ability to cognitively reframe, and our mental health. Let's start with the neurological benefits. I'm sure you're all aware of how powerful music can be, and all the studies that have shown how powerful and effective music can be with helping us with our brain health. Studies have been conducted all over the world to show that music helps us with our vision, our balance, our speaking, our hearing, our behavior. The list is endless. However, when we introduce songwriting into the mix, our brains fire up in ways that music alone does not serve. You see, when we combine songwriting and music, we are now stimulating both the left-hand side of the brain and the right-hand side of the brain. When both sides of the brain are stimulated simultaneously, the corpus callosum part of the brain comes alive. And when the corpus callosum comes alive, magic happens. You see, the corpus callosum consists of over 200 million nerve fibers, which when they are fired up together, actually help us to redevelop lost parts of our brain function. This was huge for me. As a 9-year-old kid who had lost my memories, who was falling behind academically, who could no longer remember how to get to the loo and back, I could use songwriting to help me remember, regrow my memories. Okay, so that is the neurological benefits. Sorry, these clicky things are fun. One of the other wonderful parts about songwriting is how it can actually help us to cognitively reframe traumatic events in our lives. Now, trauma looks different for everybody. However, for me, focusing specifically on neurological trauma meant that I was stuck in this mindset of being the victim. Why me? Why was it that I was the one who was in hospital for weeks on end? Why was it that I was the one getting called Frankenstein? By By turning to songwriting, I was actually able to cognitively reframe the messages in my head by, again, stimulating parts of my brain. Namely, the amygdala, which is the part of our brain in charge of our memories, the nucleus accumbens, which is in charge of our emotional responses to those memories, and the cerebellum, which is the part of our brain in charge of the release of dopamine, otherwise known as the love hormone, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and lowering our levels of cortisol, which is our stress hormone. So, by leaning into songwriting, I am now able to not only retain my memories, but cognitively reframe them in a way that is empowering, dopamine-fueled, oxytocin-fueled, lowered stress levels, and I'm able to step out of it as I'm a survivor and a thriver, not just a victim. This has served me profoundly throughout my life. In fact, when I was still living in New Zealand, I was in a hard rock band by the name of Static Era, and it was during this period of time that I really learned how to harness this elevated level of dopamine, oxytocin, and lowered cortisol levels. This is a picture of my guitarist and I on stage with our drummer behind us as I was singing a song called Dear Me. Again, this was a song that I wrote about a traumatic event in my life in a positive light. That specific event that I'm talking about, is when my ex-boyfriend committed suicide. At the age of 9 years old, I was diagnosed with depression. Can you blame me? I'd had 10 brain surgeries. By the age of 16, I was severely depressed. Can you blame me? I'm a woman living in this world. It's Women's History Month, y'all. You know the struggle. Here, I was able to rewrite this trauma. I was able to turn depression around, talk to my suicidal tendencies, and reclaim my power. Can I sing you a little bit about that song? Dear me, I just called to say I miss you. It's gonna be fine. Dear me, don't forget there's still tomorrow. It's gonna be alright. My entire life I've been triggered to lean into those depressive, disempowering, sad, anxious-driven feelings. Finding songwriting and music working together, I was able to turn that around and empower myself, find my voice, find my power, find my strength, find my value. Songwriting has helped me save my life. It has helped me redevelop lost parts of my brain function. It has helped me to reclaim my voice. It has helped me to remember never to take a day for granted. In fact, so much so that even at the age of 12, when I was still learning about how to use my voice effectively through songwriting, I was an ambassador for New Zealand youth at a worldwide symposium held in Florida, Disney World. I even got to meet Christopher Reeves, the OG Superman. It was pretty cool. It helped me to turn traumatic events into empowering opportunities of growth, recognizing that, sure, my father might not be with me anymore, but he still lives inside me, every day. And this is particularly important in today's world. 2022, we have just surpassed the 2-year anniversary of a global pandemic that has completely devastated communities around the world. I'm not even going to approach the current devastation with the war in the Ukraine. Things are hard. Our mental health is at an all-time low, with elevated levels of depression from as far as Sweden, to the United Kingdom, to Italy and Australia, of course the United States. In fact, the World Health Organization guesstimated back in 2020 that it would take us at least 10 years to emotionally and mentally recover from the pandemic alone. That was only 6 months into the pandemic. Can you imagine how much worse things might be now? And of course, it is our young people, our millennials, our Generation Z, that are struggling the most. Again, August 2020, a study was conducted by the CDC that found that between 17 to 25% of young people contemplate committing suicide every day. Imagine how much worse it is now. We've elevated levels of anxiety, depression, sleep issues, withdrawing from family, aggressive behavior. It's hard, but songwriting might be the answer. Studies might have been conducted across the world around music, but we're now starting to wake up to the therapeutic benefits of songwriting. Kathleen S. Mayers, a clinical psychologist at Western State Hospital in Virginia, agrees with me. We have T. Ficken, the author of the Journal of Music Therapy, who also shouts to the ceiling about the benefits of songwriting. Harvard Medical School is catching up. Of course, we also got my boy Ed Sheeran and Zayn from One Direction. It is clear. Music and songwriting together really help us. And the good news is, it's not too late. After all, the Chinese proverb states, the best time to plant a tree might have been 20 years ago, the next best time is today. So, with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes again. Now I want to take you through the same exercise, which you can actually do in your own time when you're back at home. But with your eyes closed, I want you to put on a piece of instrumental music. It can be anything from the Matrix theme song to Tchaikovsky, whatever. The important thing that I want you to think about is, with your eyes closed, what words, themes, ideas come to mind? Listen, reflect, without judgment, without fear. These are your thoughts and yours alone. Remember back to when you were 9 years old now. Remember who you were, your experiences, your ideas, going on holiday. If you were sitting across from your 9-year-old self, what would you tell you? What prayer would you have for your 9-year-old self? What advice would you give? Notice any themes, overarching ideas or concepts that come to mind. Lean into it. And when you get home today or back to your desks or whatever you're doing for the rest of the afternoon, I want you to brainstorm on those ideas. Dig deeper. Paint a picture with your words. Be honest with yourself. Remember, vulnerability is a superpower. And this is the beginning of your song that could potentially change your life, serve you throughout your entire futures and present. There is an old legend that says that we each have two wolves that fight inside of us. One wolf is the wolf of fear, anger, bitterness, regret. The other is the wolf of love, compassion, positivity, and hope. Through songwriting, through music, through allowing yourself to dig into those darker parts of yourself, you have an opportunity to lean into that positive, lean into that light, lean into that love, lean into that positive action. The world constantly tells us who we are, how we should show up, and who we are to be. But you have the pen. Don't let the world write your song. To build a better now, we gotta tear down these walls. The only way is through, and I lead it from the heart. In the darkness, starts with me, then I'll do things differently. It's about the wolf I fade. There is an author who says it's important to not let yourself die with your music still inside you. Again, I want to encourage you all, in a world that tells you who to be, how to act, and how to show up, you have the pen. You are in control of how you respond to everything that happens around you. Don't let the world write your song. Thank you.